Part 2, Bar Buoy.
My question, if I can remember rightly, was that we were talking to Tom from Capes, and we were talking about how pub culture and coffee culture have kind of done a bit of a swap in recent years, kind of since COVID, I guess. And I was wondering if you've seen any changes within your industry.
Drinking changes.
Non-alcoholic.
Yeah, I think it has changed.
Okay.
Sorry, you
I am going to declare right here. Drinking culture, it's shifted, and probably for all the right reasons. There's a much wider range of non-alcoholic options out there for people to enjoy when they're out socially, and I think that was always one of the biggest challenges of being a non-drinker or the designated driver before, and actually now you can go out and you can have a as good a quality experience from having as we were talking about earlier, Guinness Zero or a Pentire and tonic, gin and tonic kind of equivalent, or something along those lines, as the people are that are having their sort of their more traditional types of drinks, and isn't it brilliant that you can do that, and isn't it brilliant that actually the option of going to those lovely country pubs, which we've all seen becoming kind of mothballed in recent years, isn't it great that actually those types of drinks could and should be creating the opportunity for us all to be going back out to those places and enjoying those lovely beer gardens and that fantastic hospitality and those log fires and the brilliant food. So I see everything that's going on in the drinks industry now. Yes, it is a seismic shift, but it's a shift that's probably long overdue. And it's a shift that's a really exciting proposition for so many different up and emerging sectors within the industry, whether it's non-alcoholic, ready to drink, a new stance on beers and lighter weight, sort of lower volume type offerings. It's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have friends who will, I think they call it zigzag, where they will have an alcoholic drink and then they'll have a non-alcoholic drink and then they'll have an alcoholic drink, and they're just people are a bit wiser with drinking, and maybe people don't want that really awful rough, next day.
That's a big part of it, isn't it?
And sort of giving up their Saturday to the sofa. So people that do drink, there is still, people will choose for quality as well. So, but just having choice, I think, is the good thing. But within our range of the cans, so the Negroni is the strongest one at 18%, and the Hugo Spritz is the lightest one. It's 8%. It is a lighter alternative. It's a lighter drink. So you can, some people will choose. I'm sure at one point in my life I chose when it was stronger, but some people will make the choice based on it being a lighter drink.
I do feel like now as well, I'm just thinking like just in my lifetime of drinking, and maybe I'm not the best example, but like I feel like 10, 15 years ago, a lot of it was all about volume. More so, and now it is because it's so expensive to drink. Going out and like getting a drink, it's all about the quality. It's rather like actually. I suppose the drinking experience is changing from the volume side of things, going out binge drinking, to actually probably spending the same amount of money on less, but like just a better quality product.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that term? Less is more. Quality over quantity. Just choose authenticity over volume, and I think that's a healthy route for us all to be going down anyway.
So I want to get into like the nitty gritty of like the businessy side of things, running like a product based business, because I sort of think if I were to try and set up a business like this, I wouldn't have a flipping clue where to start. Like there are so many moving parts within it feels like. So you guys must have had to learn so much like on the job, just by like, right, I've got to do this, and then just go and try it. Like, it must have been that.
I think
Does it feel like that?
The product based business, and then there's more specifically food and drink, and then even more specific again, alcohol. So there's just all those different things that you maybe, we weren't aware of. You need we got a house license when we first set up, but you also need another license for selling alcohol to another business. You need that. So that needs to be in place. What they don't have anymore, but HMRC at one point had a compounder's license. So if you were mixing spirits, you needed a license for that. So just, that's just one part of
so
ticking boxes.
So many.
I was going to start with like one of your bigger wins was getting into co-op.
Yep.
Is that one of the biggest wins, I suppose, at the moment? Does it feel like, or
it's one of the bigger ones, and it's our first dalliance into grocery. it's been really sort of interesting, sort of the whole process of shifting from working with very sort of drink specific businesses to that kind of sector.
So how did it happen? Do you know? Like, do you literally pick up the phone and call Mr. Co-op and be like, this is what I've got? Or is there a process? Like, I want to know like the real specific stages of how you do that.
There is a lot of what's called in the industry challenger brands trying to get into supermarkets in all sorts of things, from I don't know, like a cheese company to a cereal company to drinks company, and there are things within the industry out there to support it. So there's one thing in London called Bread and Jam, which is it's like ultimately like a conference run for a couple of days. And it's organised from somebody who used to work in retail and in the industry. And there's a lot of challenger brands that will go to it. And there will be loads of people that have been there and done it giving talks, but also the opportunity to pitch to buyers.
Really?
So it's quite a busy space because a lot of people are trying to put forward to pitch. So that's just an example of how some people, there are things like that in out there to try and help you knock on these doors. There's also, we're part of something called Ray. So it's a girl, Nicole, who's set up these like pop-up, carefully curated pop-up shops, which you actually pay to be part of and in. But she invites buyers from all the major supermarkets, all sorts of places, to come and see these created products that are sort of new to market that buyers can then go, oh, that's interesting me. I'd like to find out the details of it. So things like that exist. We didn't get caught because of any of that, actually. It was kind of because we put ourselves out there, particularly in the Southwest, and said yes to most things. That's kind of how it came about. Mm-hmm. So it was through Taste of the West, which is an organisation, covers like Devon, Cornwall, Bristol, the West Country, specific for food and drink, and we're members of it. And every so often they will put out something that's happening and are you interested in this or are you interested in that? And I think there was something about a supermarket looking for new drinks products. Did we want specific, to be, and did we want to be put forward? And we were contacted by them, and we were like, "Yeah, sure, we go." But we went to a meeting with them, and the co-op buyers were there, and I mean, straight away they just kind of got the brand, got the product, and they were like, "We're specifically looking for a regional product to go into our regional stores." So it went from there, and they it didn't feel too much door knocking, really.
There was no door knocking at all.
Getting in front of them, I suppose. Taste of the West opened up the door for us to get in front of them, but then they liked the products and the brand instantly.
And it wasn't a daunting proposition either, because we were only talking about, I think it was either 24 or 26 stores. So actually we already had we had some customers that were maybe sort of already a dozen or so different stores or pubs that we were working with. So it was a nice opportunity, a nice sort of chance to test the water, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so we did go into those 26 stores with just two of our products. So it was the margarita and pineapple daiquiri. But very quickly they then said, oh yeah, and now we're actually going to put you into 94 stores around the Southwest, excluding Cornwall, but everything sort of east of Devon and east. And it wasn't even a conversation or a question. It was like, that's what we're doing.
Oh, right.
And I was like, okay, all right. Cool. So we'll try it. And we've been very cautious, I suppose, about that grocery space and how much will it impact our relationships with the independents and hospitality. And we haven't really found that it has. There's maybe one or two customers have been a bit sensitive about it.
Why? What about?
I think more because and it was only really retailers, a couple of retailers, because I think maybe they felt that there was their kind of competitive advantage of stocking us was maybe being diluted. Okay. But actually, where these supermarkets are placed isn't really anywhere near where a lot of these sort of higher quality independents are. And for us as well, we just see it as all part of the mix, and it's a marketing opportunity as well. So actually, the more places that customers see our brand, the more recognition we get, the more recognition that it has on the shelf, no matter where it is. So actually, it does benefit the wider community, the wider. It
depends how you think about it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Because I was just kind of thinking then, and then you put me off the thought and put it onto a more like positive thought. And I said like how they would negatively perceive that of. I suppose if you're going in and spending a lot of money on a cocktail, would they hide the Bar Buoy pre-made behind the counter sort of thing and just bring it out as a cocktail and pretend it was a sort of pre-made thing.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. So when we started to go into hospitality venues in particular, we just thought that we would be a white label product.
Yeah.
We just assumed that would be the case.
Yeah.
But almost instantly, people
changed.
wanted to talk about them serving Bar Buoy cocktails. And that really surprised us, didn't it?
Yeah, they like to embrace the brand. And
So that's
really,
very
that
much
was-
a benefit for the retailer as well as the...
Yeah.
And because of our provenance, because of the quality and the care and, all of those things that we're so passionate about, that's actually helped to justify our existence on a back shelf of a bar. And so it's been helpful.
Just kind of going back to Co-op, I'm curious how it works with kind of the grocery stores and the big names. Do you kind of have a testing period with them? So if it didn't work out and they obviously didn't just come to you and say, we're going to put you in more stores, would there be a time where they would have thought, or maybe this isn't working?
I mean, everyone sort of in the industry says the easy part is getting the listing.
Right.
And then the hard part is keeping it. So it's not a given. Like they just literally, it's all, they've got data and it will be the rate of sale. It's just constantly, they'll be looking at the rate of sale. And I guess, things are delisted, things change, but they tend to do a range review. I think it's every year or something. But it is slightly different for regional compared to national listings. So regionals, I think supermarkets at the moment do have KPIs for upping regional products in their supermarkets. So that was kind of almost, our sort of window to get into those stores. And that sits really well with us because we are bigger in the Southwest. We're much more well known here than we are, say, in like Newcastle. We haven't,
Definitely.
we haven't got that reach, and because we don't have pockets of marketing budgets, then it's it's easy for us to talk here. So regional sits really well with us.
Yeah.
And it would be the money that's tied up. If we're supplying 500 supermarkets on a national basis, actually, well, how many pallets of cocktails are we going to need to supply into their central hub in any one time? And once those pallets are in that central hub, how long is it then until we actually get paid out from this? And so, that's a different proposition for a different period in the Bar Buoy journey potentially. But championing local and being a regional supplier alongside the other mix of channels is a perfect place for us right now.
When you were talking about like payments and stuff like that, when you are selling to like a wholesaler or like a retailer, that when do you get paid? Do they literally buy your product and then sell it, or is it?
You tell us.
We're still not being paid.
Do you know what? There are some brilliant payers out there. There really are, and there is a bit of an urban myth about some. Some supermarkets, whatever, but supermarkets do tend to recognise the smaller producers and they do tend to support them. That said, there is a process that you go through with some supermarket listings where they will send through an order. It will go to this hub on consignment, and it's only then when it's then pulled from that area of consignment through into the stores that you can then raise your purchase order to then get paid. And you will always get paid on 30 days at that point.
Right.
But that pallet might be sat on consignment for 60 days or even longer on that.
When you say on consignment, do you mean from like warehouse to actually being on the shelf?
Yeah. So
it's
it's
like
getting
their
there.
central hub basically before they call upon it.
So that obviously has its challenges. And when you first start with the supermarket, obviously you're sending stuff in and it goes straight out. So the process is really quick. But once you're up and running, actually, they want to make sure that their supply chain's never going to be affected. So they will always order quite far in advance, knowing that they don't need to pay for it until.
So it could be that 30-day payment period as well as like the 6 weeks that it's waiting around to actually go out there. So that's potentially a long time there, isn't it?
And you could end up. I mean, we had one pallet that was I think it was about 120 days before we got paid. And we knew the game before we entered into it, but we didn't think it was going to be quite that long.
No.
And of course, we paid the duty on it at that point and all those things. So that's an education piece and something that with future relationships and future deals that we would have to sort of factor in or try and sort of mitigate that.
Are you at the mercy of just their terms with that sort of stuff? Really?
Yeah,
to a degree. So they are a bit fair on small producers. But you're not going to then try and say, you're not going to say no.
You can't. It's hard to negotiate with that sort of thing,
why
isn't
having
it?
like the mix of channels is really good for us. So if you think our website, someone's paying instantly, So if we've got web sales constantly going on, when we do face-to-face events, so like Dartmouth Food Festival or Exeter Christmas Market, instant, the month we take it on a card machine and a day later it's deposited in our bank account. So actually having a good flow of web sales and events throughout the year,
it's a great way to do it, isn't it?
That cash flow.
Both really important, like, and complement each other, don't they? Really,
yeah,
massively. How do you keep up with like the supply then? Because we had a little warehouse tour down here, didn't we? And you obviously put it all together yourselves amazingly still, which is great. But yeah, if a massive order, like 94 stores come in from Co-op.
Yeah.
Is it like, right, all hands on deck, we're working graveyard shift, let's get at it,
I think, so we obviously have bottled and canned cocktails. The bottles we produce in-house and the cans we get done at the co-packer in Newton Abbot. But so with the co-packer, we have to book our slots in advance and almost have a forecast of when we want to. You can't just phone them up and say, we've just had an order, can you do something tomorrow? It has to be planned in. But also, as a growing business, how much are we growing this year? Like, how big a slots do we need to, So there is definitely, a little bit of witchcraft trying to plan that. With the bottles, we try not to hold too much stock on the shelves, but obviously if we get an order in, we want to be able to fulfill it pretty quickly. And generally with wholesalers, it would be a 2 to 3, a couple of days that we would be getting out the door. A direct order, we would ship the same day if it's smaller, but if it's more like a pallet order, it would be, we'd probably have a couple of days notice. But yeah, it's just trying to have that fine line of not holding too much on the shelf. So the bottles we try and do a little bit more just in time. But of course, we're ordering. We've got good terms with our own suppliers. So say we're ordering a spirit in, we wouldn't be paying for it on that day. We would have maybe 30 days or more to pay for them. But it's just that constantly feeding the machine. As we get bigger, instead of ordering 100 litres of gin, we'll come to order 200 litres of gin, and that just keeps escalating. So you're just constantly trying to feed the cash.
It's tough. And it is a big ask, because there is always going to be a lag. Doesn't matter how good a set of payment terms you negotiate with your supplier, it's then how that feeds into the customer. Most of the wholesale customers are month end following month of receipt. Well, by the time you've sent it to them, that's probably a 60-day process there as well. So
you still,
you have to be sat on a decent amount of stock in order to be able to react to orders coming in, and you need to be able to keep the business flowing. And as any business will tell you, cash is king. You've got to keep the lights on. So that is why I have a lot less hair than I used to.
So with Mr. Co-op calls you up and says, right, we're going to chuck you in these 94 stores. You sounds like you didn't have much of a choice, but at the same time, obviously you're keen for that. You want to do it.
Yeah.
Do you literally just pick up the phone and say, right, suppliers, this is what's happening. This is what we need. Let's go.
Kind of.
Weirdly, we actually kind of had it.
I think
you did.
We had it in stock.
You preempted it.
And so it did wipe us out. So that was the bit that we had. So we were sort of backfilling.
Right.
But that kind of worked out well, and that was sort of more proof that you need to hold a buffer zone of stock, and so you need that ability to be able to see into the future and go, okay, well, we need to make sure we've got 4 pallets of margaritas sort of sat there ready to rock, and 6 of the Negroni, whatever it might be, and sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we get it wrong, and we're learning all the time. And it is running a product-based business is a humbling experience, because forget everything you've learned about business before. Forget everything about running a service-based business. That's almost like it's a much more straightforward transactional process that you go through, and you're never generally sort of having to lay out vast sums of money. With a product-based business, whilst it is hugely rewarding, you're building this brand and you're shifting these incredible products. It is time to dig deep into your pockets, and we've had to sacrifice personally a lot in order to make sure that we're putting the business out there and fulfilling the orders and requests of our customer base.
I was going to ask that, and we sort of touched upon it, but like funding a business like this, how does that even work? Again, I wouldn't even know where to start. How much you need to chuck in to get this sort of stuff going. Obviously, it's naturally grown quite nicely, which has been great. But like, do you continuously need to fund to grow? Is that how it works, or is it more demand?
Yeah, I mean,
rather
there
than
will
supply?
be that business model of just constantly getting investment, using it, growing, more investment, using. And we've kind of tried to grow things organically, which it definitely is slower. If you had, £2 million investment on day one, then you could do things quite differently.
And there are some people with a huge amount of the market share in our specific premium cocktail end of the market. They're in most supermarkets now, had like millions and millions and millions of pounds of investment, but it's cost them millions and millions and millions of pounds to get that market share. And I'm sure they have their strategy, and it's probably an exit at some point, and so the various VCs or whoever's kind of involved in that investment will benefit. But for us, we felt we needed to set the standards sort of as right as we possibly could at the beginning, and try and grow our business sustainably and organically from the very start. But that's cost us a lot of money, so we've had to dig deep and put in quite a bit of our own money. We've taken advantage of various British business bank opportunities out there with some funding. We've had a tiny bit of investment, which is really helpful to get the business up and running, and we've been really transparent and open with our suppliers as well, in terms of just trying to make the relationship grow, but in a way that is manageable. And we're still learning, and we're still making mistakes, and there might be a time when we do need to get some bigger external investment and needed to ramp it up to that next phase. But what we are trying to do is we're trying to keep the business moving along and growing in its popularity and quality until the point when those really big opportunities sort of do come along, and that's when we might need to sort of take advantage.
And then trying to hold out for longer before we have to kind of get that investment, because then the money that you get in, you're giving less equity up, and so we're sort of holding on to more of a share of a business. So,
but what's the plan? What's the plan then? That's what I was going to ask. Is it I don't know, some people get offended by this question, but like, is it a lifestyle business, or do you want to like grow it really, really big and then sort of have something?
It's funny because it's not a lifestyle business as in like it's the easiest job to do at the moment, because it's so like we must do about 10 jobs each. Like it's just constantly run about, it's really full on, and we're not benefiting financially with the reward yet. So it's kind of like, but we're growing something, and it has the potential to be bigger than service businesses that we've worked in before, because I mean, for example, and it was small scale, but the water ski business that I ran, you can only put so many boats in the estuary and in the water. You can't just keep adding and adding and adding. With a service business, especially if you've got employees and it's the time that it can only scale so much sometimes before it's then to another level. But with this, it feels like the opportunities are really quite endless, and so it really could be a big thing, but we want to grow something that we're super proud of at the moment, and put down the right foundations, which we've worked really hard over the last few years doing that. But build a team as well. It's really exciting, the thought of employing more people, and actually having a brand that has its place in the Southwest and is an established business.
Do you think you've got kind of those thoughts because it was built out of passion? You never started this because you were like, right, your New Year's resolution was never, I'm going to build a pre-made cocktail business. You just wanted to perfect the margarita. So do you think that's helped you stay quite grounded to that?
I think
thought
so.
Of growing. Yeah.
We love building this brand, and we care deeply about it and what happens to it. And so everything that we're going to do along this journey is going to be about doing the very best by that brand. And we see countless opportunities for it. We see endless opportunities. We see so many different areas that we can go down, but we've got to try and do it in the right kind of way and grow it in the right kind of way. And, as Ria said, actually, to do this, we need to get people as passionate as us on board to help us thrive. And that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Okay. Well, that's your plans at the moment.
Yeah.
Start building your team.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So it is exciting. Really exciting.
Yeah.
So we've got someone new. So there's Tim and I, And then we have Toby, who works for us, and he's been with us basically since around about the time we went full time. He came on, he was 21. He's been brilliant. He's like really, it's a shame he's not here today as well, but he is, he's grown with us as the business has grown. He helps with production here, order packing, and he helps us with events. But we need those sort of next hires to come in and help us grow the business. So we have just taken on a new salesperson to come and join the team. So he's going to be starting in May. And this feels really super excited. Like this is our first sort of professional hire. He's got oodles of experience, and I think he's going to be quite transformational for us.
What sort of things will he do then? Like, will he literally come in, pick up the phone, speak to these big supermarkets? Will he go out there? What are your plans for him? How would he say who do you want to get in with? I don't know, Waitrose or something like that. How would he go out and get into Waitrose?
So there's various parts to it. So his role is a business development manager, and he will be predominantly looking after hospitality and independent retail accounts around the southwest. So that's really, so from Bristol to Bournemouth and a bit further that way, and all the way down to Land's End, and on the road, doing circuits of different areas on a regular basis, and just checking in with existing accounts and building new accounts, and making sure that we're getting the most out of the relationships with our wholesalers as well, so that we're building up those relationships at the same time. Now, on top of this new hire as well, we've also just engaged a fractional sales director, so who has huge amounts of experience within the drinks industry, in particular down in the southwest as well. But he does have far-reaching national contacts, and part of that remit will be to help us develop strategic sales opportunities that fit our brand in the right way, that we know that we can add value to. So whether it's travel, whether it's casual dining, whether it's sort of larger pub groups, that type of thing. So yeah, it feels like there's a myriad of opportunity to really sort of be going after, but it's making sure that we're not going after everything scattergun. We're trying to do it in a way that actually we're building and not. It's not like those shiny new toys. Oh, I'll have that one, and then you get bored of it 10 minutes later. You need to build it, get that first sale, and then really concentrate on getting the second and third and fourth, and build that. And stop it being transactional, becoming more about relationships. And that's how we want to sort of grow the business, and that's how we see our business developing long term as well. And by building those bigger relationships and those more trusted partnerships, we are then able to be more comfortable about hiring more people in the team. So whether that's then more operations type led people, or expanding the sales team, bringing in more marketing support, there's lots of different areas that we can start to look at. But you have to do things one step at a time when you don't have the big external investment.
Yeah. You guys have done all the sales, obviously, to start off with, then, haven't you? And the relationship building, which is obviously a lot when you're doing everything else as well. So
yes, it is.
This is going to give you a bit more time to be like operational.
Yeah, exactly. And strategic as well. I feel like we're quite often reactive to things at the moment. We have, it's just really, you just constantly, chasing your tail, and getting involved in, both of us get heavily involved in operations. There's obviously a little bit of HR with Toby being on board. Customer service is something, I don't know, delivery disappears from someone that's ordered on the website. That can be time consuming, just sort that out, but it's really important to offer that good customer service and sort it out for people. So we've always been really conscious about the brand touch points. Like, to us, that's really important, that when people interact with Bar Buoy, they have a good experience. So whether it's just shopping online, seeing us at an event, or in a restaurant, or in a sort of independent retailer, or in co-op, it's a positive experience. So we're just constantly trying to make sure that all of it runs smoothly for everyone at every stage.
So bringing people in then to kind of do what you guys have been doing, it's quite a lot of trust you're putting into these people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing we're looking at is, like, do they get the brand? Do they care about the brand? Do they get excited about it? When we're telling them our story, do they get, will they even be as half as passionate as we are about it? And if you get that reaction, or you feel you get that reaction, then you know that actually you're on the right path with that particular person. And so you can ask all the relevant interview questions you like. It's kind of what's in there, what's in the heart, and the desire, and how do they feel? And that's sometimes in my past I've got it absolutely terribly wrong, and sometimes I've got it right. But I feel with this small team that we're developing, it's a very
We're
exciting time.
Yeah, really excited for this guy.
It's exciting. And what else have we got to go through?
Well, I was going to go through the branding and marketing. Like, yeah, we kind of touched upon it quite a lot, haven't we? And it's obviously a huge part of like this sort of business. But like, what are you doing intentionally for like your branding and marketing? What sort of messages do you put out there? Do you, because I suppose that's been like your element of sales, isn't it? To start off with, is like getting your brand out there and sort of riding that wave and sort of taking advantage of those great opportunities. And now with these salespeople, that will be like very intentional, I think. But then the branding and marketing side of things, how will that sort of follow suit? What have you done, and will it change like how you talk about the business?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're both really interested in the branding and marketing. Like, we both love it, and it's really we're both quite strict on how it comes across and how it's portrayed. I would say. The brand, it's always going to be about that piece about balance and quality and balance in life as well. So earning your cocktail and talking about our, the sort of detail that we go to with ingredients, that will come through on everything we do. We are active on social media. Events are still huge for us. Awards are still huge. We'll still enter, we'll enter awards, and we get really good feedback from them. But it's also a nice PR piece as well to talk about. We're doing, our currency really, when we don't have huge big budgets, is samples. So, getting it out there to people. So actually, we're doing something with Darts Farm, do a run club. So in April Run Club, I think it's on the 12th of April one, we're giving the run as a Hugo Spritz, which is our lightest cocktail, but it's like you've earned your cocktail, but it's like that's a giveaway,
nice early morning drink.
Exactly. But they can save it for the Saturday night or whatever it is. But it's showing up in the right places, and also just making sure the brand's really consistent. So if you see our trade stand or event stands, it's always really similar how it looks, because it's just that sort of repeating, how we look and how we feel.
Have you got better like engagement, I suppose, for like a smaller, more local business from like the more face-to-face stuff that you've done to start off with, chatting about your business, opposed to like maybe like the social media and that sort of other type of marketing? Because so as a business like this, social media is great for it, isn't it? Obviously, that's huge, but then you get a lot of engagement from face to face.
I think so, and I think particularly in the Southwest, people buy from people.
Yes, they do.
Community-led, isn't it?
Very much so. So putting ourselves out there. I mean, we haven't actually sort of talked about Food and Drink Devon as an organisation. So when really early on, when we were still literally at home, I think we joined Food and Drink Devon as a member. And the food and drink industry is lovely. Like, it's one of like networking in other industries. It's always, it's maybe just been a little bit stiffer, hasn't flowed quite as well. But you imagine networking with food and drink businesses, like
because everyone's drinking these, isn't it? That's why.
But everyone's just generally very happy, positive people, really happy to share knowledge. And so straight away, Food and Drink Devon was a happy place that we kind of saw a part, and Bar Buoy was part of it. And then as it's unfolded, you were asked to join the board. And so you're now sit on the board of Food and Drink Devon. And that community and networking opportunity has been fantastic.
It has. It's a real honour to be part of the Food and Drink Devon board, and surrounded by incredible people on that board as well. There's people like Greg Parsons from Sharp and Dairy, and just to learn from some of their experiences has been fantastic. But it's also like, what can we do for other people within the community, and how else can we help them to thrive? And one thing that we have developed, and it actually be quite good for you guys to come along to it, is this event in the summer. So on the 10th of June, it's called Gather. And it's in collaboration with Exeter University. And it's our own version of helping the food and drink producers and service supporting community to get the most out of each other in the Southwest, and help each other, build each other up, so that we are really sort of putting ourselves at the top of that cake and being the best version of ourselves. So within it, there's some great keynote speakers. There's a whole load of workshops as well. So you can really cherry pick the types of events you want to go to. And that feels something that I'm incredibly proud to sort of help to sort of lead on, but to give back to the other producers and businesses sort of down here.
Is that food and drink specific? Sorry, or is that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's food and drink specific, but it's it's producers, it's service supporters, it's academic as well. So the extra university people get involved in that, and so it's it's the whole support network as well.
Yeah. Oh.
And it is, in the Southwest, it's food and drink is a fundamentally important part of our economy.
And there's definitely bits of where food and drink development have taken it to Parliament level, like having discussions about how important hospitality is in the Southwest, or just that supply chain and small producers and how important that is to the wider economy in the UK.
Going back to kind of community, because I think, seeing it so much all over social media of businesses, especially product-based businesses, of building communities by having days and mornings or evenings and doing events like that, Darts Farm are doing their run club. Would you ever do your own? Would you want to do that? Is that something that you would look at?
Yeah, there's so many ideas.
Yeah,
that we haven't got to execute. That sort of like a sip and see evening or something. It's like a little sea dip at sunset and a cocktail on the and just organize I don't know, like there's just loads of things that we could do with our brand to create lovely gatherings, because we've always said from day one, that's why actually when we launched we did a bottle that contained 2 cocktails, because it's about sharing a drink, sharing a moment with someone. So it's not, I'm sure someone has drunk our cocktails alone, but it is more about that, creating that moment and that with the people that you love and you're happy with and your friends and family. And so to kind of put that into reality and have, that sort of that feel of Bar Buoy as well as just seeing it and tasting it. I can't wait to get and do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would find so exciting about marketing a product is that those kind of things of in-person
sort of
events.
Yeah. I mean, we have done tasting events here at our HQ over the years where we've sold maybe a number, just like 10 tickets, or had it as a private booking and literally given people sort of a welcome drink, margarita, being the host, like come in, have a margarita, listen to our story, show you around, tell you about our products, and let them taste them all. And people love it. They've been really good. It's hard for us to factor in now just as we've got busier and the HQ's got busier and there's not so much of the space, so we haven't done them as regularly, but they were great ways of us shouting about it and getting some real Bar Buoy fans early on.
Yeah
That's good. Well, what's the plans for Bar Buoy then, because it feels like you guys are ramping up now? You got a couple of salespeople coming in, there's obviously a bit of a plan. What's happening soon? Anything to keep an eye out for? Or
we're always going to look to evolve, and whether that's products, team, brand, and we want to keep on that journey and keep that trajectory going and keep relevant, and be adaptive, because the world does change. We were talking about that earlier on with the drinks industry. Who knows what the landscape will look like in 3, 4, 5 years' time? What do we want to do with Bar Buoy? Well, we're just trying to grow something really special, right? And that's enough for now. That's all we care about. We just want to be really proud of what we're doing. We want to be really proud of the people that we're working with, whether it's our team or our partners and our customers. And let's just say, I think that's a good place to be. Let's keep building something that's positive and brilliant and is actually bringing something good to the Southwest. And we're really proud of Exmouth, where we're from. And it's great when you hear people talking about Bar Buoy in a positive way, that it's from our small little town that got forgotten about when the docks and the university left. And it's great to sort of be part of that wave of those exciting businesses that are really lifting this town up. And I think it was voted as one of the top places to live in this, was it the Sunday Times or something like that recently? So to be able to play a very small part in that type of thing, but be really proud of what we're creating, and our children be proud of us, our parents and family, be proud of that, then that's enough,
Yeah. I think so much of Bar Buoy is our personal, Tim and I, and our personality in it. And it is that sort of laid back luxury. It's not stuffy cocktail, intimidating cocktail, but it is that sort of relaxed but a treat, and life's luxuries, and just enjoy it, but don't take life too seriously.
Leave your egos at the door.
Yeah,
we're here for a
exactly.
good time. That's it.
Love it.
Great. On that note, then.
Yeah, I think
Leave
that's
it
a
there.
great place.
Tim, Ria, thanks very much.
Thank you very
Thanks
much
for
for
having
having
us.
joining us.
Yeah.
Done.
Cheers.